Elon Musk. You know the name. The guy behind Tesla and SpaceX. Ventures so ambitious they feel like they're pulled straight out of science fiction. But it's his takeover of a 17-year-old social media company that's become his most polarizing and maybe most revealing move yet. And get this, when Musk made his move on Twitter, it came with this stunning endorsement from the platform's own co-founder, Jack Dorsey, a singular solution. I mean, wow, that set the bar incredibly high. Which, of course, brings us to the big question at the heart of this whole saga. What was the problem that needed a $44 billion solution in the first place? To really get the answer, you have to understand the paradox of Elon Musk himself. On one hand, to millions, he's basically a real-life Tony Stark, a hero out to save the world. But on the other hand, if you talk to many people who've worked for him, his leadership style is described as nothing short of brutal. A place where the product is king, and people, well, they often come second. Look, none of this is new. To really get why he did what he did with Twitter, we have to go back and look at the philosophy that has driven him for decades. The key thing to understand here is that his actions aren't really driven by quarterly earnings reports. They're driven by what he calls a deep sense of moral purpose. Things like, solving climate change and ensuring humanity's survival by becoming a multiplanetary species. And his method for pulling off these insane goals, unapologetic, bet-the-far kind of risk-taking. And this has been his MO from day one. Back in 1995, he ditches a Stanford PhD program after just 2 days to start his first company. Later, he dumps his entire fortune into SpaceX, even as the first rockets were literally blowing up on the launch pad. And he bet big on Tesla when almost everyone thought electric cars were just glorified golf carts. And the scale of his thinking, it's just immense. SpaceX isn't just about launching satellites. Its stated mission is to colonize Mars. The whole idea is to ensure the long-term survival of human consciousness in case something catastrophic happens here on Earth. And this is how he makes these impossible-sounding visions feel real. He sets these absolutely aggressive engineering targets. With the Starship rocket, the goal is to get the cost of launching a kilogram to orbit down to just $100. A number so ridiculously low, it just completely rewrites the economics of living and working in space. Okay, so how does this grand philosophy of betting big and aiming for Mars lead him to buy Twitter? This wasn't just another company for him. It was a foundational piece for an even grander vision. You gotta remember what Twitter was before Musk. It was the world's public square, right? The place for breaking news, for cultural debates, for talking directly to world leaders. But on the money side, it was basically a one-trick pony, almost totally dependent on advertisers to pay the bills. Now, to really get Musk's plan, you have to look east, to an app called WeChat. It started out in China as just a simple messaging service, but it morphed into this super app that handles pretty much every part of daily digital life there, from paying your bills and ordering a taxi to even accessing government services. So here's the absolute crux of it. Musk didn't buy Twitter just to run a social media site. He bought it to be the foundation for X, a Western version of that everything app. He wanted to take that global town square and build a whole digital city around it, shifting the business model away from fickle advertisers and toward direct revenue from users through things like subscriptions and services. So he had the vision, okay? But the execution? Wow. It was a masterclass in total chaos that triggered a massive backlash and a result that I think almost no one saw coming. His approach was pure blitzkrieg. He fired 3/4 of the staff, boom, gutting the company's institutional memory. He completely upended the platform's status system with a pay-for-play checkmark. And then, just like that, overnight, he threw away 17 years of global brand recognition, renaming the company X. Critics immediately jumped on this, calling it a textbook example of a cynical new tech term, enshittification. It's this idea that platforms are deliberately made worse for users in a desperate search to squeeze out every last drop of value. And the financial world? They were just horrified. Branding experts estimated he had vaporized somewhere between $4 and $20 billion of brand value, an unbelievably costly and what seemed like an impulsive decision. But, and this is where the paradox gets really deep, while all the experts saw billions in lost value, the actual users started telling a very different story. As ad revenue was tanking, look at this data. Brand loyalty among users under 35 shot up 27%. The Net Promoter Score, how likely you are to recommend the app, it swung from a -13 all the way to a +10. So you've got this massive contradiction at the center of the takeover. The platform became way less profitable, but for a core group of users, it actually became more essential. Falling ad revenue on one side of the scale and rising user loyalty on the other. But this aggressive break things style doesn't just alienate advertisers. Across Musk's entire empire, it's creating friction with the slow-moving, cautious world of government and regulation. With SpaceX, his dream of colonizing Mars is running headfirst into this huge regulatory gap around something called planetary protection. Basically, these are international rules designed to stop us from accidentally contaminating Mars with Earth microbes, or worse, bringing some weird Martian microbe back here. The rules just weren't written for a company moving this fast. And then there's Tesla, where the legal challenges are just stacking up. You've got regulators claiming the names autopilot and full self-driving are dangerously misleading. You've got shareholders suing him, alleging he inflated the stock price. And, maybe most importantly, you have courts starting to hold the company liable, not just the driver, when the tech is involved in a crash. So what we're really seeing is this fundamental culture clash. It's the move fast and break things ethos of Silicon Valley, slamming into the stop, look, and listen world of public safety and law. His technology is consistently moving faster than the frameworks designed to govern it. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, this isn't a story with a neat ending. Not yet, anyway. We are literally watching a world-changing, high-stakes experiment play out in real time, and the final verdict is far from written. Apple's co-founder Steve Wozniak drew this really interesting parallel between Musk and another polarizing visionary, Steve Jobs. Both of them inspired these cult-like followings and also intense criticism, all driven by this uncompromising focus on the product and a desire to be seen as the one person changing the world. And ultimately, Musk's story forces us all to grapple with a really profound question for our technological age. We get the rockets, we get the electric cars, we get the transformed platforms. But what is the true cost of progress when it's all driven by a single, powerful, and uncompromising will?